Trigger warning. If your name is Pedro DoorDash Santiago, then this video will be offensive to you and piss you off and make you want to have hot, steamy butt sex with your wife. You've been warned. So, ladies and gentlemen, Pedro DoorDash Santiago, the man, the myth, the legend, expressed his opinions on the conversation between me and UDM about being a premier driver in this day and age, and I wanted to react and respond to it because I think Pedro has been misinformed or misunderstood something about how the gig economy works. My opinions are not really opinions, they're based on facts and experimental data and data collected between several drivers. I will be laying down facts for you, Pedro, to help you have a better understanding of what the hell's going on in the gig economy. So in this very first clip, this was shortly after me and UDM had our podcast about how I choose to be a premier driver over a cherry picker and why. And Pedro gives his take, and we're going to let him speak, and I will then step in and tell you why he's wrong.
I saw an interview that UDM did with a guy. Good interview. I watched about 20-30 minutes of it, and the guy was, he's a premier driver for Grubhub, and some of the lines he said kind of struck me a little bit. He says, yeah, sometimes we got to do this because the app won't exist without drivers being out there willing to take the trash. Or he didn't say that, but he's saying we have to help Grubhub keep their business afloat. And I'm thinking, man, there's some truth to that. There is. We need the people that take the trash. We do. But do we? Because if we just continue to decline, DoorDash will up the pay, and then eventually we can all make more. That's actually more logical in my opinion.
Okay. So, Pedro, you and... let's see how many subscribers you've got real quick. Okay, so Pedro, you and 25,000 other people agree on this. Based on your subscribers, you got 25,000 subscribers. Congratulations. It's a common reoccurring theme that I constantly hear throughout the gig economy and gig tubers and influencers in general, that if we cut the legs out underneath these companies, they'll pay us more. When? Pedro, when has that ever happened? When? Name one case where any company out there whatsoever has paid their employees more for not doing their job. Okay, I said the word employees, don't get all shaken up about it. They're workers, they're independent contractors, they're employees. Name one company that said, you know what, you're right, I'm going to pay you more. So let me give you a little history lesson here, Pedro. Uber was the first gig company that became a household name. When they first come out with just rideshare, no Uber Eats in sight, just rideshare, when they first come out, people were making so much money that drivers were going and taking $100,000 loans out to buy really nice vehicles with. Humvees, you name it. So they could drive XL luxury to make more money, etc., etc. Okay, over time, everything was working out perfectly. Really no reason for Uber to do anything. Back then, Uber was only taking 20%. So they only earned 20 cents per every dollar. The driver literally got to keep, I was there, I was driving for Uber, and I literally got to keep 80 cents out of every dollar the customer paid. And I made fat cash. The first week I did rideshare, I cleared like $2,000, and that was just regular Uber X. Okay, 6 months down the road, and 3 lawsuits later, because there started being things being brought to court where drivers were doing messed up things to customers, and customers were doing messed up things to the driver, and lawsuits were starting to pop up against Uber, and people were trying to say Uber was liable for all of this. Then all of a sudden, Uber X got slashed in half. I wasn't making the money from Uber X. I think they left Uber Black, Uber XL, and Uber Lux alone at the time. But Uber X got cut right in half. They started charging the customer more and giving the driver less. See what's going on here? Okay, let's use DoorDash as an example. When DoorDash first came into my area in 2018, I believe, they started out at $7 minimums. No matter what, no matter if the customer tipped or not, DoorDash made sure you earned at least $7 for that trip. And then guess what? There's a few drivers that got to investigating and couldn't find a rhyme or reason why some trips were only paying $7, but other trips were paying $15. And then they found out that if the customer left a fat enough tip, say the customer left a $10 tip, DoorDash would only pay you $1. But if the customer did not tip, DoorDash would give you all 7 of those dollars. And there was literally drivers that were distraught by that and tried to take DoorDash to court. There was one guy that first cracked that code, and DoorDash reached out to the guy. I remember this very vividly. I was watching a gig tuber at the time talking about it. So there was a DoorDash driver that reached out to DoorDash and was like, hey, could you tell me how the pay model works, because I can't quite figure it out. And they gave him some nonchalant order, and then he responded to them. It's like, well, here's what I think's happening. And they responded with, well, if you tell anybody, we will deactivate and sue you. So he went to a big gig tuber and DoorDash gave him $300. I'm not kidding you. DoorDash actually gave this guy $300 to keep his mouth shut. They didn't say specifically keep your mouth shut, but he wound up with $300. Seriously. So this guy went to a gig tuber, and that gig tuber made a video on it, and then they took the $300 back away from the guy. And then 6 months past that, they cut out the $7 minimum and made a $2 base pay. And they've been changing that in and out. Grubhub, another example. Grubhub was like paying a set amount per trip, and if you made any more, there was kind of like it's kind of like the DoorDash base pay is now, but it was just a little bit more. The problem with that pay model is Grubhub was having a hard time getting drivers to take those long distance miles. There was orders popping up on my screen then, 30-mile long trips for $3.05. Now, I took them because I knew that later on that day or later on that week, Grubhub was going to make it up to me. And I appreciated the fact that there was at least one app out there that did not have a rating system. What I love about Grubhub. Okay. So, over time, they were having a hard time getting drivers to drive 30 miles for $3.05. So they changed the pay model, and everybody screamed that it was a 16% pay cut. But these 30-mile distant trips started becoming $15 and $20 without a tip on them. And then cherry picking took off and become widespread. And the idea at first was just what you just said is, hey, if we quit doing these low ball offers, then maybe they'll pay us more. And all they have done, all of the companies, these companies have done is paid us less and less. It ain't going to get any better. I'll tell you the tip and the trick that I found with Grubhub and why I love Grubhub so much. If you get in there, if you treat the $4 payouts like you would the $20 payouts, and you keep everything good and consistent, and you're making that company money, they will make sure you're paying your bills. So that mindset that if we stop taking these small orders and start costing these companies more money than we already are, that will somehow translate into these companies paying us more. And history, not my opinion, history proves that is not accurate at all. And in fact, I sort of expect the future to be even bleaker than it is right now. I think that they're going to go down to $1 base pay on DoorDash, and that's that. Because DoorDash has gotten to the point where they don't really care. It seems like they really don't care whether the food gets delivered or not. What they care about right now is making the number bigger. The number that is really important to DoorDash right now is how many people are placing an order at any particular period of time. As long as that number is gigantic and that gives them the bragging rights to say that we have over 50% of the market, that's all they care about. That's all they care about, 100%. There's so many drivers in line to get on the DoorDash platform. Why do they got to care about us? What exactly do they need to care about us? We're all screaming we're independent contractors and we can do whatever we want. Screw these companies. They don't care about us. Why do we think that we can meet a force with a force or greater force and get a positive result out of it? We can't. So no, if you talk to everybody, if you manage to use your influence here on YouTube and convert every single driver over to being a cherry picker, the only thing that will happen as a result is these companies will open up the floodgates and let even more drivers in. And that will dilute even the cherry pickers. That will completely dilute what you are making. If you convince everybody that's online right now and has an active account to be a cherry picker and to be exactly like you, that's all that's going to happen, is they're going to lift that cap completely and say any driver that signs up gets through the same damn day in the next 5 minutes. There you go. And that's and that will completely do, because that's, 2 more cherry pickers on the road that are just like you are taking those orders from you. They might be closer to that restaurant. You just don't know. But your way of thinking is not going to get us more pay. I promise you. Let's continue.
But anyways. And then he's like, yeah, you got to take whatever. And sometimes Grubhub will throw me a bone. And when he said sometimes Grubhub will throw you a bone, I cringed. That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't want to be thrown bones. I don't want bones. I want the chicken. I want the drumstick. I want meat on the bone. I want to actually eat. I don't want scraps. What do y'all think?
Usually I'm the one that takes everything literal. Usually I'm the brat that is like, oh, that ain't happening. How do you cut the dead miles out? There is no such thing as dead miles. If there was, then you'd be in the negative every day. If you take your mileage, I drive 100 miles and make $150. So I take that $150 and divide it by the 100 miles, and I get $1.50 per mile. Whether I took 3 or 4 offers that were going 10 miles for $4 or not, there's no such thing as dead miles. I'm sure there is. I'm positive that there's orders out there that I think I seen one on the internet one time that was placed, and it required the driver to pick up in Ohio and deliver to New York City for $9. I'm sure that one had some dead miles on it. But it has to be to that extent. Yeah, they throw you a bone, Pedro, more than one throughout the course of the entire day. I went out and became a premier driver again recently, and they're throwing me bones. I'll take 5 no-tip, low-tip offers. They give me a beast. About every 3 to 5 low-ball offers I take, they throw a beast at me. $15, $20 and on up. And that evens it out, and I'm making money by the end of the day. They're doing it more now than they ever have, because I would venture to guess that this is just a guesstimation that any period of the day, at any period of the time, there's at least 50% of the orders are low tip or no tip offers. At least 50%. No less than, it's definitely greater than that. There's days that 75% is low tip, no tip. So, I've never heard you talk about driving for Grubhub. I recommend it. Sign up for it, dude. Get on Grubhub. They're a different company altogether. I've never once heard you say a thing about it, and I know you're going to go automatically draw a comparison that Grubhub is going to be like DoorDash, and there are similarities there, but I'm telling you, dude, Grubhub's a different animal altogether. They got that $10 minimum guarantee an hour, keep your acceptance rate above 90%. And if you go out and only do, if you go out and work an 8-hour day, you're guaranteed to have $80 to show for it, as long as you put forth the effort. Some drivers are going to scream at me and say, but you get schedule restriction for collecting contribution. If you know that there's an area of your market that's super busy all the time, but you prefer to stay over here where it's not so busy, and you collect contribution without going to that part of the market, it's super busy to get that contribution caught up, you are going to get schedule restricted. But if you put forth the effort, continue to work off block after your last block ends to try to get that contribution caught up, you're not going to get schedule restricted. But yeah, dude, I'm happy I made you cringe by saying they throw you a bone. They throw you a nice, big, juicy sirloin steak. And they throw more than one at me every day. You know, I truly do feel that Grubhub cares about me. I got paychecks to show for it. Yes, we absolutely need drivers to hold these companies up. DoorDash doesn't need as much help as Grubhub. And I think you're drawing comparisons between Grubhub and DoorDash and making them sound like they're the same company. They are not. They're wildly different. Wildly different. Completely different animals. You're doing the same thing. It's the same process, yes, but when you're doing, the attitude of each company is wildly different. One does not care at all, and the other one cares about those who care for it. So, sign up for Grubhub, man, and instead of getting on YouTube and running your mouth about how big of a clown that I am,
I'm gonna be the big brother on YouTube, and I'm gonna try to slap some sense out of you, because you got all the content creators, geek tubers, whatever you want to call it, that are saying, take it, take it, take it. I got clown noses for all those people. It is what it is.
Sign up for Grubhub. In the first month you're active, actually go for Premier. Anyone will kill you. 1 month of Premier. You can go straight back to cherry picking if you so wish. But in order to really get a feel for how Grubhub is and treats you, Premier is where it's at. I have not seen you touch Grubhub on your channel. I think you're missing pieces to the puzzle by not doing that. I think in order to have all of the knowledge, you have to work every app and get a feel for all. So, you know, I love Grubhub, but to understand the decisions that Grubhub makes, I had to go over to DoorDash. There was a time where I was hell-bent against cherry pickers. I kept on saying things like, if I ran a company like Grubhub, I would shoot myself in the foot to make sure cherry pickers didn't make any money on my platform. That sort of kind of happened. Grubhub started throttling cherry pickers. And as a result, market share went down for Grubhub. So bad that I had to jump over on DoorDash to make ends meet for a minute. Because in my market, Grubhub slowed way down. I was collecting contribution every day when I was on blocks. So I quit making blocks and I skipped over to DoorDash. And I noticed not only that they keep orders flying at me, when I declined distance too far, they throw me one that's a shorter distance, lower pay. If that wasn't satisfactory, if the pay was $3 only going 1 mile, decline payment too low. And then eventually I'd get one for 5 miles, $15. You got to be precise with that decline button. And I'm like, why in the world would DoorDash literally try to help me find the orders that I want? Why is DoorDash actively trying to find me orders that I would accept? And it just kind of dawned on me that that's one of the many, many steps that DoorDash used to keep things moving and keep that market share up. So if I'm just a driver sitting there declining orders, I'm not doing anything useful. If I'm taking offers in a timely manner that I agree to accept and they keep me busy, that's that much more food that's getting pumped out. So it blew my mind. It really did. It blew my mind. But I wouldn't have known that I didn't jump off the Grubhub wagon and get on the DoorDash wagon. If I'd stayed a Premier driver, a diehard Premier driver, I would not know that to this day, even though I listen to almost every gig tuber out there, and they're all saying that. This is all new knowledge to me because I'm not a diehard cherry picker. So you just don't know, man. So let's watch this other clip where Pedro acknowledges what I said and validates that what I said is valid to him.
Some would say, well, you know, we want the companies to be around. We want them to be profitable because then we can continue to have work and have jobs and customers are still ordering. These are valid points. These are very valid points. But we should not be doing these apps for a long time. We shouldn't.
Okay, Pedro, I'm trying my best to find that fine line between humble and arrow here. I disagree with you. I disagree with you wholeheartedly. Let me tell you how I think. You're welcome to disagree with me. I already know you are. That's cool. We're going to have to bump fists and agree to disagree. My problem with one thing you say is we should be using these apps as a stepping stone or a bridge to get where we're going to be. Now, you live in a big city. You live in a place where there is a lot more opportunity. A lot, okay? There are those of us like me. I ain't saying that there isn't more opportunity out here. A population, at any given time, the population is 250,000, 250,000 people. Okay, so there is definitely opportunity where I'm at. But nothing that pays as well as the gig economy. Accepting 100%. I'm not kidding. The opportunities that we have here pay almost half of what the gig economy as a whole pays. On average, I go out and drive for Grubhub on block, accepting 100%. Grubhub makes every effort to make sure I clear $20 an hour by the end of the week. No college experience. All I had to do to get this job was pass a background and be super enthusiastic for picking up stuff from A and delivering it to B with a smile on my face and basic professional manners. $20 an hour. I value this job. I will be doing this probably for the rest of my life. There's a few things I got lined up. You know, for example, I've got another YouTube channel 10 times as popular as this particular channel. This channel is just for fun for my family and friends to see what I'm passionate about. We just talk about work here. I'm hoping that that channel is growing at a rate that in the next year, if I keep up the good work, I will eventually become monetized and it will be an additional form of income to me. Then there are people out there, once again speaking of myself, but I try not to draw attention to the fact that I have a mental handicap. Okay, so going back to a W-2 at this point is out of the question for me. Not because of the money. Could you imagine working at Pizza Hut, taking someone's order and screaming to the top of your lungs at them right in the middle of them giving you an order, and it's involuntary, you have no control over it because you have Tourette's? The gig economy provides me the most money I've ever made in my life without the stress of a W-2. And I can rely on a particular company to have my back and keep me on the road, especially when something goes wrong and I'm innocent. Grubhub offers me a form of job security. So let's say I did eventually find a W-2 and moved on from the gig economy. I'd still want Grubhub to be there for my kids, for my wife, and for myself as a backup plan if that W-2 falls through. Because if you notice, our economy right now is so I'm happy that you have plans on bettering yourself, but not all of us have that option. I'm really good and comfortable where I'm at. So I'm happy that you got things going on for you. But there are those of us that are grateful and appreciate the gig economy, what it provides us, the maximum income we've ever had in our life with no college degree, no diploma, or no nothing. And we get really good and comfortable there. So just keep that in mind when you're going around preaching that, you know, set goals for yourself, one day at a time, bet on you. I agree with all that. It's just some of us are in situations where we can't bet on ourselves. We have to live with medical conditions that are not fun to deal with and accidentally draw a lot of attention to ourselves. So just keep that in mind, man. Let's move on. Okay, so now I'm going to get into the UDM thing. And Pedro's a hypocrite. He is. He, full disclosure, him and UDM bumped fists. They bumped fists and agreed to disagree. But Brian, something tells me Pedro really ain't sorry, dude. Pedro said he wasn't taking down any of his stuff because people tune in every day to watch him both rant and be informed.
We discussed saying about possibly pulling them down, but I know you said to your community of drivers that you're not gonna take it down. So I want to know, like, I'm willing to pull my post down, but if you're not willing to pull your video down, it's like whatever. What's your plan after this?
I wanted to see how this went. Another thing I think that is important to me, I have a gig content channel, right? But for me, it's more than that. And for a lot of people it is. I share a lot. I probably overshare. versus some people, and that's fine. But it's, it's my channel. I do what I want. You do what you want, right?
Right.
But I'm very, very opinionated, very ranty. I talk about a lot of other things in the last couple of months besides gig work. I talk about mental health.
Right.
I challenge my community to figure out like what's your next move. Like, it's not about staying in these gig, so my channel's a little different in that way. And I'm good with that. That's on purpose, right? That's on purpose.
Right.
I talk about that a lot. So for me, I'm a man of many flaws, right? I'm a man of flaws. I make mistakes. I try to learn from them, right? But I made a lot of mistakes in my life.
Right.
And, in my prior years, I'll be quick, but just give me a second. In my prior years, I've become more of a man than I am now. I've grown up a lot. I'm 40. I'm older than you, but I've grown up a lot. I've made a lot of mistakes, a lot of bonehead things. My ego isn't as, was way bigger than it is now. Like I'm very prideful, all these things. I know what my weaknesses are, right? And for me, I do videos every day and I give people the real every day. It's never scripted. I just talk. And sometimes it's a good video. Sometimes it's a trash video, but I'm just myself. So that was me in that moment. That was my reality. I saw red.
Right.
I was pissed. I was like, what? That's my reality, right? So part of me feels like if I take it down, I'm saying that like that wasn't me, but it was. You know what I'm saying? It was me in that moment. I was raw. I was real. I was pissed, right? But I said a couple things that were disrespectful to you. So in some ways, it should be taken down because that's not right. Right? That's not right. You're a good guy. You're a family guy. You're good for this community overall. So, that could be viewed as like, shots at you. Right. And that's not right. And I can admit that. Right. I can admit that. So I guess my answer is, I don't know. If that's important to you, I think we could talk offline, a 5-minute conversation, and we could talk offline. But it's very important for me to be me. And that was me in that moment. And people watch my channel. Most of the people that watch my channel don't watch for the gig stuff. It's probably 50-50. A lot of them watch to hear me rant, rave, to see what's going on in my day. And that's what happened. And it was raw and it was real. Like, so, I don't know. I'm just being honest with you. I don't, 'cause I feel like that's taken a piece of my day away. Right. So I don't know. I think we could talk, if you're up for it, I'd like to talk offline about it and see, because at the end of the day, if you kept your post up, I'm not going to be mad at you. I'm not going to, you called me a narcissistic. You call me I'm gaslighting. That's fine. That's your opinion. And I'm not going to, that's how you felt in the moment, right? After watching what I did, that's what you did. And that's fine. I'm not mad about that, because that's you. That's your truth, right? And I have my truth. So I think we could talk about it offline and see. That's my response. So I don't, that me saying that was absolutely absurd and ridiculous. And I want to apologize for that.
I think it's a sleazeball thing to do after two men have settled to score. I do. I think that's a sleazeball move. Let's get into it.
He's fake. I'm telling y'all, he's fake. I'm telling you right now. He's going to keep talking sideways. He mentioned my kid yesterday in a text message. He's like, why don't you just take care of that new baby girl you got? And he's like, why are you mentioning kid? Like, what? You telling me what to do as a father now? Like, that dude's fake. I'm telling y'all, he's fake. And that's why nobody watches him as much anymore, because they can see through all the phoniness and it's all scripted. It's not real. His content isn't good anymore. And he's mad because I'm the rookie. And now he's sitting on the bench. It's just the reality, guys. I'm telling y'all, we don't even need him. I'm telling y'all, we don't need him. I can do what I need to do for the community or what he's wanting to do. And I think he's a little bit jealous. I think he's a little bit bitter. Telling me you should just take care of your daughter, man. Don't, just be a father. Like, what? Me saying that was absolutely absurd and ridiculous. And I want to apologize for that.
Let me tell you something about Brian, dude. Let me tell you something. Oh, God damn. I used to run a satire channel, and I busted Brian's balls a lot on there. I really did. And that was probably one of the most humiliating things I ever done in my life, if you want me to be honest with you. But, Brian turned from a premier driver to a cherry picker. When I started debating him, some of the debate's still up. You can go back and find the videos where I run another channel called Unbiased, and I debated him under that name. But it's all in there. When I started throwing satire his way, you want to know what Brian did eventually? He called me. That channel, that satire channel, I think it didn't even hit 20 subscribers. He called me. We were originally only supposed to have a 1 hour long conversation. 5 hours. That man humbled himself and came down to earth to find out what the hell my problem was with him. There wasn't a problem. He knows that now. I just disagreed with him. And I can assure you, Pedro, I can assure you that UDM, that he's the exact same person in his video as he is behind the scenes. He's the exact same person behind the scenes as he is in his video. I can assure you. I literally had a 5 hour long conversation with Brian that I thoroughly enjoyed, by the way. Now, mind you, at this time, I had less than 20 subscribers on a satire channel that was not meant to be taken serious at all. And when I would argue a point that he could not deny or justify, he humbled himself. This was when he had 7,000 subscribers. He humbled himself. He's like, I accept that. I accept defeat on that. UDM is more real on that camera than you will ever be. The fact that you made a huge deal about him bringing up your little girl, man, that's fake as dog shit, and everybody can see through it, bro. I'm not even kidding. If UDM said something like, hey man, you need to focus on raising your kids better to make sure they don't wind up being just like you, I would have understood. But he didn't. Instead, he tried to de-escalate the situation by saying,
we're both fathers. We both have better things to do. At least that's how I feel.
And of course, you being you, a narcissistic egomaniac, desperate for attention, had to take a molehill and turn it into a ginormous mountain. And if you ask me, that shows me just how fake you are.
That, me saying that, was absolutely absurd and ridiculous, and I want to apologize for that.
I notice a reoccurring thing. I notice a recurring thing. When you get on YouTube as a gig tuber, Brian, pay attention to this. I think I got something figured out, okay? And you're like Pedro. The companies do not care about us. The acceptance rate does not matter. F them. Blah, 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 blah. When you say a whole bunch of things that a whole bunch of ignorant ass people agree with, whether it is factual or not, you blow up in the gig tuber space. Let's take saying it like it is for an example. That man gets on every day and has a stroke on YouTube and rants like the gig economy is his ex-wife and he's blowing up. Everything he says is an assumption. It's absurd, not factual at all. Doesn't bother running the numbers. He doesn't bother getting the facts straight and figuring out why these gig companies are doing what they're doing. And he's blowing up. But you take someone like Brian, you take someone like UDM, when you throw something at him that makes sense. You know, he tried to tell me about dead miles one time, and I was like, there's no such thing as dead miles. Do the math. And he did the math. He's like, you're right. There's no much. And he did an episode. I'm assuming, I know that video garnered views, but I'm not so sure it was super popular. When I expressed my enthusiasm for Premier driving and the benefits of being a Premier driver, he brought me on. We had a podcast about it. When Grubhub released their updated TOS and everybody was confused about it, and I think I nailed it down. He's like, you're very accurate. This makes a lot of sense. And he put it up despite the fact that it wasn't going to be very, very popular at all, because it was fact. Delivery drivers are the big bad wolf, and that's not a popular opinion out there. That's why this channel will never take off, is because I am enthusiastic about a company. I am pro-corporate because that's where the money comes from. I understand the decisions Grubhub makes and why they have to make them. Grubhub makes sure that I pay my bills, and people do not like to hear that. For some reason, people don't like to see other people succeed. So I think the reason what holds UDM back, you notice DoorDash Dad, now GigaCon Dawn, goes on tirades about DoorDash and how god awful it is. At least he used to. That's the GigaCon Dawn that I began following. Every day he talked shit about DoorDash. He really did. And his channel blew up. You know, UDM don't do that. UDM does not do that. He does not get on it and just talk shit. He tries to analyze each situation and figure out, you know, and he's like, hey, here's how I work, here's how I meet my goals, and he just journalizes. So UDM just simply isn't putting out content that I think is very, the topics Brian. I don't know that your topics are the most popular. However, I don't think you should start talking to get more views. I think that would be fake. I think you should continue being yourself. I really do. Even if it means your channel doesn't get 10 times more popular than it is right now. If I had to analyze why all UDM's friends are surpassing him in subscribers, that would have to be it. So, Pedro, you getting pissed off, seeing red, letting your IQ level drop, and then trying to make a big deal out of UDM bringing up the kids is absolute bullshit in my mind, dude.
Me saying that was absolutely absurd and ridiculous, and I want to apologize for that.
Even when I was busting Brian's balls, I cannot say that I felt that he disrespected me. We got really blunt with each other. We got really bold with each other. We did. We might have even said something here and there that could have possibly hurt one of each other's feelings, but I can't say that neither one of us, especially him, did not punch below the belt. You know, he didn't go straight for the balls. You do, 100%.
We discussed saying about possibly pulling them down, but I know you said to your community of drivers that you're not going to take it down.
You know, I wanted to see how this went. I have a gig content channel, right? But for me, it's more than that. And for a lot of people, it is very opinionated, very ranty. So for me, I'm a man of many flaws, right? I'm a man of flaws. I make mistakes. I try to learn from them, right? But I made a lot of mistakes in my life.
Right.
I'm very prideful, all these things. I know what my weaknesses are, right? That was me in that moment. That was my reality. I saw red.
Right.
I was pissed. I was like, what? You know, that's my reality, right? So part of me feels like if I take it down, I'm saying that like that wasn't me, but it was. Me saying that was absolutely absurd and ridiculous, and I want to apologize for that.
But there's a little thing called ad revenue, Brian. I love that Brian captured this hour-long moment between him and Pedro, because I already did not like Pedro. I always thought Pedro was sleazy, but now I have the proof and the evidence to confirm. Pedro, there's a note saying, you act like the people you're around. You're pretty sleazy, dude. Just letting you know. Brian, you did not get bold enough. You were trying to de-escalate the situation in the beef between you and him. Go back to doing what you do. I think you missed an opportunity to get just a little bit more bold than that.
You know,
But I gotta chime in. You said you made a whole video, brother, about what I said that made you see red. So if a person tells me I need to apologize because you saw red and you went nuclear, like you said, I said, okay, well, I need to apologize for real. Now, do I feel like it's a genuine apology? I'm over here trying to say like, yo, let's get back to the money. And you keep telling me, oh, don't bring up a person's daughter or bring up a person's family. And I'm like, oh, I'm trying to get back to the money. Oh, okay, well, I'm sorry. I apologize for bringing up your daughter. I apologize for bringing up your family.
You lost me, Brian. You lost me, man. You shouldn't have apologized for that.
I apologize for talking down to you.
Shouldn't apologize for that either.
For all the things that you said that I did in your video. I apologize to you. These are things that I didn't know I was doing to you. I didn't know.
To me, when you say sorry, you acknowledge that you do something wrong, and you'll do everything in your possibility, in the humanly possible, to correct that course. Of course, you can't undo the past, but you can fix the future. So, Pedro, you say you apologize, but your actions do not say you apologize. Actions speak louder than words. So I'm going to assume that you do not curse that much in your videos. I rarely hear you curse in your videos because your kids watch your videos. Therefore, the right thing to do after apologizing to each other is take that video down. You should focus on making your kids grow up to be better than you. So now your kids get to go back on your YouTube channel and watch the time that you flip your shit on UDM over pretty much nothing. And they will grow up to act just like you. So if my satire channel I had, after me and Brian sat down and had our conversations, and he met me in the middle, and we had our discussions, and we come to our agreements and our disagreements, that channel got erased, and everything about it got erased. I could still be doing that satire channel, and it was growing really fast. But there was a lot more things going on behind the scenes with that channel. I don't know if I apologized to UDM for it, but I definitely acted like I valued, me and UDM started forming a friendship, and I started to value that friendship and to show UDM that I valued the friendship that we were starting to tie together, that I either misunderstood or mistook him, especially after I heard his stance on why he became a cherry picker. I'm like, well, okay, you got a point. And I backed off. I sat down. I don't know if I apologized to you, Brian, but my actions spoke. I took down the entire channel and got rid of virtually every video where I either come off snide or while talking about you. Those videos cease to exist. So, Pedro over here is too damn concerned about his viewer count. I'd say if anybody got to take a peek at the analytics of that video, it probably made Pedro a little chunk of change, and he got a few extra subscribers from it. And if he deletes that video for any reason, takes it down or anything, that he will no longer be making money from it, and he'll no longer, his channel won't be growing as much. In his mind, his channel won't be growing as much because he probably gained a lot from that video. So he's going to leave it up. It's a permanent part of history now. Even though Brian was like, hey man, I'm good with you if you're good with me, and I'm willing to forget all about this, put water underneath the bridge, and delete my about you. And here comes Pedro saying, well, that's all good and dandy there, Brian. But I'm an attention whore, and I'm going to leave it up so my kids can watch it and model after me. Cheers, Pedro. Pedro, I don't know if you know this or not, but the emotion you should be feeling right now is shame and embarrassment. I don't know if that's registering to your mind, because you don't have pride, you have an ego. Pride is when you mow the grass and you think it looks good. Ego is when you refuse to admit you're wrong, and you refuse to back down and acknowledge that you made a mistake and do everything you can to correct it, because you're always right about everything. And you got a lot of that. Your pride is not your problem. So I don't know if you know it or not, but Brian literally brought you on his channel and very politely mopped the floor with your hair, dude. Like, seriously. Like, if you think people are not seeing through your bullshit, you are sadly mistaken. If you seen what was going on in this situation, from my point of view, you would take down that video out of pure fucking embarrassment, dude. Just saying. Because Brian just made you look like a gigantic. So you let that ego tear away at you, bub. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to end this video. I just thought I'd put my 2 cents worth in there. I think UDM is a very, very humble person. Sometimes too humble for his own good. He's very bold. We've definitely gotten bold with each other. He's accused of being fake in this situation, and that bothered me, because I've kind of gotten to know Brian quite a bit. We've not been to barbecue together. We've never went out to eat. We've never been on ride-alongs. We never even met in person. But the way he handles situations is very humble. Whereas Pedro is like, nope, I'm a ginormous asshole, and I'm too proud to admit that I am. And I'm going to leave my video of frustration towards UDM up for my kids to see and become just like me. And with all that being said, I want to go find something better to get into. Anyway, peace.
Me saying that was absolutely absurd and ridiculous, and I want to apologize for that.